Entry 3. Enlightened. By now, you probably know who I am. Kyran Grey, worker at Company 7. The warning was over an hour after it began. They couldn't capture whatever it was because it escaped the facility. Now it's out in the real world, so that's going to be a pain for whoever's unlucky enough to get that mission. Before I go further, I'm sure you're already asking, what is Banshee Protocol? Well, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's a series of rules we have to follow when something that doesn't fit in with the mission happens. Usually, it ends with everyone involved being killed. Rule number 1. Some missions may have an aberration that isn't supposed to be there. If you encounter an aberration or other unrelated content in your mission, try and contain the aberration and isolate you and your team. Rule number 2. However, if your mission tells you exactly what to expect, and if found to initiate Banshee Protocol, do as the mission says first, then the rest of the rules. Rule number 3. You will wait for a specialised team to deal with the problem. Then, your memories will be erased. However, if that is not possible, you will be terminated on the spot. Rule number 4. If a team is not available or a company doctor finds you worthy of living, you will participate in the destruction of the mission. The mission site, if available, will be burnt by Greek fire, exorcised, and kept away from the public. Do not question this. Rule number 5. Fun fact, Banshee Protocol was first founded to keep a creature from spreading into the world. This creature invaded people's minds and spread whenever someone thought of it. Eventually, the parasite would transform its host into a humanoid insect, resembling a moth, and that's the Banshee Protocol. I've had my memory erased by Banshee Team once, and I certainly hope to never get it done again. Doesn't sound very menacing just by looking at the rules, but Banshee Protocol is brutal because they conveniently forget to mention killing all your friends and family. Today has been a very strange day. I woke up in my apartment, which fortunately is near my job. When I was setting up my breakfast, I noticed something odd in the centre of the table. There was a small card, more tag than card. It was a key card. It wasn't just any key card. It was a card from Company 7. In the company, key cards are given only when needed, and the card will only unlock certain areas, never everything at once. This card I had was different. It had a tag connected to it that read, All Pass, which meant I could go anywhere in the facility, even the restricted zones, and not get in trouble. Beside the key card was an envelope. It was small, and the colour seemed to blend with the table. I opened it, and inside was a note. Ah, Kyran Grey, we finally meet. Sort of. No matter. This letter is, let's say, some advice. It is imperative to me, the company, and some others that you continue investigating the burned children, the painting you recovered recently. Today, you will have a promotion. You will be promoted to Worker Class 2, which means you will be able to pick what missions you will go on. I strongly advise you to follow my instructions. There will be 3 missions in your options. To explore an abandoned village. We'll get to this soon, perhaps. The second option is to investigate sightings of a long-limbed, thin, crawling being sighted near a town in a forest. And the third is to investigate some old caves where people have said it was looping over and over, exactly 28 times. Please choose the second option. 90YK Village can wait. However, before this, you must go to storage. There you will recover something that will pique your interest. Informant. This was very strange indeed. No sooner had I finished reading the note when my company phone rang. It was a call from Luke Danran, my impossible new supervisor.
Hey, what's up?
He asked. Breakfast. The sky? I sarcastically replied.
I'm pleased to announce you've been promoted to Worker Class 2. You can choose your own missions now.
Wow! It was more a wow surprise that the note had been correct than any actual surprise.
Yeah, now bye.
I found that Luke doesn't really talk well. He usually talks in short, unnatural sentences. I didn't trust the note, but I still wanted to find out if the key worked, or if this was all just some elaborate April Fool's prank. As I record this, I remember something odd. Mitchell wasn't at work today. He never takes leave, not that we get any, and I don't remember anyone noticing he was gone. But at the time, I did not notice that. The key worked. I made my way into storage and began searching whatever the note said about the something that would pique my interest. Then, I saw it. It was in the corner of my eye, a small black gate that I knew by heart, but when I turned to look at it, it was gone. A minute later, when I was heading into the paintings area of storage, I saw it again. This time, it was out in the open, and begging me to open it. I remembered this from a dream. As a kid, I had always thought I had an overactive imagination. I would have these dreams about going into the woods, getting lost, and then finding a black gate in a clearing. It always seemed like it wanted to be opened, but I always woke up before I could open it. However, it was real. One day, I woke up and found myself in the forest, lost, until somehow I found my way to that gate. I had searched around it, and it was just a black gate. Before I could open it, I heard this voice telling me not to. It came from behind me, yet when I turned, I couldn't see anyone there. When I turned, the gate was gone. Instead was this door. I entered the door and found myself back in my bedroom. But something's always bothered me about this voice. I've come to know this voice very well. It's the voice of my friend, Mitchell Valarouz. Back in the Company 7 storage room, I decided to find out what exactly this magic gate was. I walked around it and found nothing behind it. Against my better judgment, I decided it was time to open it. There wasn't supposed to be anything behind it, but when I opened it, there was a small box. The cover of the box had the exact same painting I recovered from my first log, yet a lot smaller, and the faces appeared to be blinded. I remembered what had happened to the unfortunate who had committed suicide after touching the box, so I used my gloves to open it. There was a small skull inside, small enough to fit in the palm of my hand, blackened and without eyes. Something felt dearly familiar about this skull, but before I could research, my name was called on the radio, and I went off to select my mission. The 3 missions were exactly as informant described. Reluctantly, I chose the second mission. Something was off about this mission. It seemed almost too familiar, as if I'd done it 1,000 times over. I was blindfolded and sent to a Company 7 outpost in the mountains. There, the workers gave me the rules and details about the mission. Rule number 1. You are investigating sightings of a crawler, an impossibly thin humanoid being, pale grey, with stick-like limbs. The eyes may glow or shimmer. Do not look into its eyes. Rule number 2. Crawlers are usually non-violent. We believe them to be some sort of remnant of humanoid beings. However, some cases have found crawlers to be malevolent and have killed many. Take caution. Rule number 3. Attempt to stun and capture the creature with your gun. If not possible, kill it and recover its corpse. If not possible, recover the heart and brain of the creature. Rule number 4. Due to the strange nature of crawlers, there will be no Banshee protocol. And that was it. I was sent to the wilds, alone, with a gun and a backpack. It was night, and I had come across a little cabin in the woods. I sighted a few people partying, and I was about to join them, to ask if they had seen the creature, when I noticed something odd. One of them had a distinct similarity. No, an exact replica of my previous supervisor, Gail Shard. I looked again and focused. They weren't partying at all, more chanting. They were dancing around the fire, and I heard some words I didn't recognise to be in any language I'd heard before. The weirdest thing about it was that when I saw Gail drop something into the fire, something that looked like the skull I had recovered from the block gate. I tried to take a photo, but it came out distorted and blurry. The skull was different from mine. Its head was more elongated, and it had the holes where the eyes were supposed to be. It was strange and different, like it wasn't from this world. I watched it disintegrate and the fire explode into a vaguely human shape. After an hour, Gail and the others left in a car that I'm sure wasn't there when I had first spotted them. They went through a forest path that wasn't there when I checked, so I had no way of following them. So I climbed a tree and watched over the cabin. I just knew something was going to happen there. 3 hours later, I saw a family enter the house. From what they acted and looked like, I could tell they had no clue what had just happened mere hours before. This is when the strange things began. An hour later, I had the intense feeling of something else in the vicinity, something unnatural. I tried to shake it off, but it just wouldn't go away. Then I saw it. It wasn't the crawler I'd been tasked to find, but something else entirely. It was just out of the corner of my eye, behind a tree, just behind the family who were eating dinner. A thin, elongated neck was peering out, connected to a head that looked exactly like the skull Gail Shard had thrown into the fire. Large, bulbous green eyes, and an elongated alien-like head that curved upwards, then making a sharp point. Its skin was translucent, yellowish, and I could almost see bones, except they seemed more like paper than bone. I would have done something to warn the family, except when I was climbing down, I lost sight of whatever it was, so I returned to my hiding place and watched. An hour passed, and I didn't see the creature. There was, however, a buzzing in the air that seemed like an electric current. It was hard to notice, but seemed like it was coming from where the creature had been when I spotted it. Then I noticed that there weren't any insects, chirping, or birds. Finally, I saw the family go inside the house, and I assume sleep. It was an hour later when I saw the creature emerge from the shadows. Its legs were long, and its feet were three-toed, and it reminded me of a dinosaur's more than a human's. Its face had this twisted, evil grin on it, like a shark's. Its fingers, I think, was what confused me the most. It was a human's fingers, complete with opposable thumbs. They were webbed, and I didn't see any fingernails, just pale, glowing skin. I saw it look into a window of the house and grin further. I used my binoculars, and I saw that inside a child slept. Then I saw the creature, whatever it was, lick the window with a long, violet tongue. It made a loud noise, one I had never heard before. It sent shivers up my spine. It cocked its head and peered inside. Meanwhile, I loaded my gun, but something told me I wouldn't be able to take it down. I'm glad I didn't try. Then the creature tapped on the glass 3 times, if I remember correctly. When it found the child didn't wake up, I saw its fingers fizzle for a moment, and then I saw it pass through the window. I couldn't help but shiver when I saw it pass through the window and enter the cabin without a sound. It didn't come back out. I stayed there until the sun rose, and that's when I finally got the bravery to enter the cabin. It was too silent inside. More importantly, there was nothing. There was no evidence a family had even stayed there. I decided to take a photo of everything in the house so I could review them later. I returned back to the outpost, but something told me not to tell the company what had occurred. So I simply said the mission had been uneventful, and I was dismissed and sent back to base. When I got home, another envelope was on my table. I unfolded it and read the contents. Wonderful, simply wonderful. You followed my advice. The skull you found is connected to the gateway, which you, somehow, are too. I don't know how, but it looks like you're the right person for this job. Anyway, The skull you recovered, it is called the Blinded. Don't ask me why. I just know it's called that. The thing you encountered in the woods, now that's similar to the Blinded. We call that the Enlightened. Tomorrow, we hope you follow our advice and select the mission about the abandoned village. Informant. And that's all that happened today. No answers for Gail Shard, no answers about Mitchell not being at work, and more confusion about that gate. Kyran Grey.